Good morning, everyone, and thank you so much for coming here so early today. It's a very special moment for me because we have been working on this project for the whole year. The project brought together the international team of scholars from different parts of the world. And one big topic that unites it all is the Korean wave of Hallyu. Do I need to explain what Hallyu is? Is there anybody in this room who has not been yet taken by Hallyu wave? Okay, so what really attracted me to researching Hallyu is that how much data is being generated by that global economic, cultural, and political phenomenon. I was really impressed by so many agencies, the government agencies in South Korea, who are really invested in taking a look, monitoring, exploring, collecting a lot of data on that. But what also struck me so much is that there was no efforts being done so far to bring all this data together into one kind of roof, under one roof, to do something with it or to gain more insights on that. And that project was born with the observation that we can actually right now employ artificial intelligence and data-driven approaches to offer new ways and new methodologies to explore Hallyu. So, and today we are very happy to present you the results of this year-long project co-founded by the Korea Foundation and LaSalle College of the Arts, University of the Arts Singapore. So, and let me welcome you all to this event and convene this event with some welcome keynotes. So first, I will invite to the floor Professor Kwan, and he will tell you a little bit more about this University of the Arts Singapore that was launched only a year ago, right? So, and when I was recruiting people for this conference, for this symposium to come as discussants or speakers, and many of them had many questions. What is this University of the Arts Singapore? How it relates to LaSalle? Is it a different institution or something like that? And I thought it would be really fantastic to have a Vice Chancellor of the University of the Arts Singapore with us today to welcome you first here and to explain a little bit more. So Professor Kwan is a Vice Chancellor of the University of the Arts Singapore, and he's also Emeritus Professor at the Nanyang Technological University, where he had served as Professor in Sociology and in several pioneering roles over 2 decades. He was a founding member of the School of Humanities and Social Sciences and the first head of Sociology, Senate Chair, Associate Professor of Student Life, and Associate Vice President of Wellbeing. And the list goes on. And he asked me that his bio is not that long. So I just give the floor to him right now. So please welcome.
Thank you. Dr. Venka, our Deputy President and Provost of LaSalle, Dr. Natalia, distinguished speakers, panelists, guests, and I'd like to say a special hello to students. It's my great pleasure and honor to be here to help with the opening session for mapping the global impacts of Hallyu, the Korean wave. Thank you, Dr. Natalia, and LaSalle colleagues, especially for inviting me. Colleagues from Singapore institutions, especially NUS, NTU, SMU, and our international colleagues, certainly from South Korea, from the US, Canada, and I think that we have one participant from Hong Kong. I'd like to give a special welcome to the students from Arts Management who will be presenting their posters over lunchtime. And I must note the importance of involving students in conferences and in research, something I think which LaSalle has paid special attention to. As it turns out, the timing of this conference wasn't planned to coincide with the real-life drama on the night of Tuesday, 3rd December. I think it's quite historically significant for martial law to be imposed for something like 6 hours. It's perhaps a miracle that some of our South Korean participants are here. I think all of them would have showed up, wouldn't they? Because some of my Singaporean friends have not changed their travel plans to South Korea. So much for us to reflect on this, perhaps at this conference and at this stage of our global history, including whether this episode was really an aberration or an inherent part of the tensions that we are living through in the contemporary world. Now, I think Natalia asked me to say something about the University of the Arts. This university has two founding members, LaSalle College of the Arts and Nanyang Academy of the Arts, which is just across the street. And what unites these two very, very illustrious arts institutions in Singapore, going back many decades, LaSalle, in fact, is celebrating its 40th anniversary with a very, very strong 4 decades of achievements and experience. NAFA was founded in 1938, and sometimes we like to say, if you know the city here, LaSalle and NAFA are joined as well as separated by Middle Road. And with the University of the Arts, you can imagine that there's lots of crossing of the roads and lots of interest in each other's programs, and I hope in time to come more and more opportunities for joint research. This is a marvelous historic opportunity for Singapore to build on the foundations of these two institutions and to build a very unique arts institution offering higher arts education and having a special place in the higher education landscape, not only of Singapore, but the region and the world. Yeah. I have more such messages, but I would like to save some time to say a few more things, because when I was invited, I feel very, very intellectually engaged by the seriousness in which Natalia and her team and all of you have been pursuing this line of research. And I will say I will offer a few reflections on the theme, but let me just say that this conference is an example of LaSalle's efforts in developing research, developing a research culture, and this is very important when we come together as a university. I mentioned the involvement of students, and this gives substance to one of the ideals of a university, the symbiotic relationship between teaching and research. When we teach, we are bringing our research into our teaching and our pedagogy. And this symbiotic relationship also keeps us intellectually very active, pursuing frontiers of knowledge which we might not have encountered before, including by the sheer interaction with our students who are so curious and who are pushing us to share with them what we can learn from new developments. Secondly, there's also the collaboration with our fellow institutions in Singapore, in Asia, and beyond. And my hope is that conferences like this, that it shouldn't be episodic. You know, we all attend many conferences. We must find ways to widen and deepen the research in the years and the decades ahead, and each of us cannot do it alone. Now, this leads me to share a few thoughts on the conference theme. To begin with, if one is following the developments in South Korea, it's hard to imagine a scene like this, where a young woman would have to hold the barrel of a rifle and to say that the soldiers acting on orders should feel ashamed. Yeah? I like to begin by offering a perspective and approach which may or may not resonate with some of you, but let me do so by quoting a line from the New York Times report on the award of the 2024 Nobel Prize in Literature to Han Kang on 10th October. The report has this line: "This is a great achievement for South Korean literature and an occasion for national celebration." And who said this? Said President Yoon Suk-yeol in a statement in which he noted Han's ability to capture painful episodes from their country's recent history. I'm assuming that President Yoon has actually read Han Kang and that the memories of those traumatic years, such as Gwangju, have been on his mind, but maybe not so on Tuesday night. Yeah. Now, we might immediately sense the irony here in light of the past. The New York Times report continues in the same paragraph. Members of the K-pop band BTS also celebrated, with one posting a crying face emoji and a heart alongside a picture of Han. For now, I would like all of us to keep this image in mind. President Yoon, BTS, and Han Kang placed alongside each other in one discursive space. The president, the Nobel Prize winner, and the boy band, which I learned from one of our student posters, has 75 million followers on Instagram. Popular culture and its conventional distinction with high culture. This is an old debate in scholarship, and we often ask ourselves, why study popular culture? Here I shall only say that it is worth revisiting, for example, Raymond Williams' 1974 essay on not just the distinction between high and popular culture, but the relationship and the interaction between the two. His arguments include, for example, I quote, "Each cannot be abstracted from real social existence," which of course includes relations of domination, classes, minorities, and so on. Hallyu as a global phenomenon. I think this is a fascinating subject in which the whole relationship between nation states, and in this case, a nation state, and transnationalism, which involves relations, flows between nation states, but also issues of power. Hence, very often the reference to soft power, which in my understanding must not be disconnected from all forms of power, including hard power. Indeed, Hallyu as a global phenomenon must be understood in the context of global history. Asia, Korea, the 20th century. Today, we must still think about the long shadow of that history in terms of geopolitics, colonialism, war, post-war, the Cold War, and very questionably, the post-Cold War. The tragedy of the Korean War 1950 to 1953, two Koreas now, which could be considered as one people with a prior shared history and civilization, now as two adversarial nation states in neighboring lands in one peninsula, and two having different trajectories and global implications. This dynamic is played out in different ways in other parts of Asia. India with the partition, Vietnam, North and South, which took on another trajectory. And by the way, Korean soldiers were deployed in the American War in Vietnam. So, Hallyu does not spring out just from contemporary Korea. It is very much tied to the context of continuing insecurity, including the threat of nuclear war, democracy, which we now know, have seen for ourselves to be fragile everywhere, capitalism with its issues of vast inequality, everything has come into question, and Hallyu is embedded within this web of questions. I spoke of widening the agenda. This is seen in this conference, mapping the global reach and impact of Hallyu, as seen in Natalia's innovative work on Hallyu, on the Hallyu tracker, which I'm sure we'll be very excited to hear about. The analysis of an entire global ecosystem, the national ecosystem within South Korea, the flows and contra-flows in the global digital public sphere, a term which I learned from one of the papers, the studies on consumption, branding, and fandom in various national and cultural contexts. What about deepening the agenda? Hallyu can easily be approached as a surface phenomenon, just as for many teenagers, this represents one phase of their life, which at some point they are quite likely to outgrow as they have new experiences. I think there's a paper on anti-Hallyu, which is interesting. I think there may be references in this conference to what might be called the dark side or the high cost of Hallyu, including its connections with suicide, cyberbullying, exploitation. One needs only to highlight the Burning Sun episode, of which there was a very powerful BBC documentary. I won't go into these details, but I like to pick up a classical idea which makes the distinctions between the concept of idol and the concept of icon. This comes from my reading from the work of a scholar by the name of Jaroslav Pelikan and his work on Greek Christianity. As you know, icons play a very important role. And the whole question of idols and idolatry and what it means to be iconoclastic and what it means to be anti-idol. There are some deeper connections here which I think are embedded in many of the things we talk about. I quote, "An idol purports to be the embodiment of that which it represents, but it directs us to itself rather than beyond itself. Idolatry, therefore, is the failure to pay attention to the transcendent reality beyond the representation. An authentic image, which came to be called icon in Greek and then in other languages, is what it represents but it bids us to look at it and through it and beyond it to that living reality of which it is an embodiment. Now, I hope I've not made things overly complicated, but I'm just intellectually excited and thrilled that there's so many things that we can talk about in the study of Hallyu, and of course in the study of iconography, in the study of popular culture, and also what might be called intellectual culture and the arts. And this is the point that I will next come to. I return to the observation made by Raymond Williams that the concept of culture in the course of the 19th century acquired a specific association with the practices on which mental and spiritual cultivation were thought to depend: intellectual work and the arts, and the practices and the products of such practices. This is why I think that when we talk about Hallyu and the global influence and impact of cultural production from South Korea, we must necessarily include Korean arts and humanities which have made their way marvelously, stunningly, and stimulatingly on the global stage, including in popular culture. I will just give 3 examples, one of which you would be very familiar with, which is the award-winning, box office-breaking film Parasite. And of course, I think this work, I won't go much into it, directed by and the script written partly by Bong Joon-ho, says something not only about inequality in South Korea, but the kind of inequality that you see in many parts of the world, especially in cities. I've mentioned Han Kang, the Nobel Prize winner. Some of you may be familiar with her work, The Vegetarian, which speaks to, I don't want to reduce it to it being a feminist work, which speaks to questions about relationships between men and women and about women and their struggles. Yeah. But I like to highlight the work Human X, which, appropriately enough, is something that the president did indirectly refer to, which is based on the 1980 Gwangju uprising and massacre, and it being a historical trauma which perhaps the current youth of South Korea would find it hard to remember, if not for intergenerational transmission of memory, including in works of literature like Han Kang's Human X. I may also refer to a Korean artist who located to Japan, but very much now on the global stage, and that is the visual artist, installation artist, and performance artist, Lee Yu-fan. And Lee Yu-fan, as it turns out, also, there's great currency here, also appeared in the November cover, on the cover of the November issue of Art Forum, with his work, 1968 work, being featured on the cover. Just like to pick up something that Lee Yu-fan said when he was interviewed, and this is found on YouTube, about artificial intelligence. He acknowledges, and I quote here, AI can be extremely useful in many ways and exert great powers to adeptly organize and move modern society forward. So this is not a knee-jerk negative reaction against AI. Then he says, but I'm an artist, and an artist's job is not to produce answers. It's important for an artist to make the viewers continually think, raise questions, and experience various things. However, since AI provides answers, it robs the user of the process, time, experience, everything. Now, I know this might come across as a rather, one could say, a certain kind of view. I continue. He finds it problematic because AI only pops out the answer and doesn't possess the various ambiguities, complexities, doubts that art does. And the source of all that does not lie in people, but in things that transcend. Remember what I said about the icon. There is a transcendent reality that is in, through, and beyond the icon, that transcend humanity, like nature, the cosmos, and emerges from the links between them and humans. Now, I won't go on except to suggest that there's so many powerful lines of inquiry that can be pursued when we think about the study of popular culture in relation also to the study of cultural production in the arts and in the humanities. Now, I'm aware of my time, so I'm moving now to my conclusion. What are the stakes in research? In this case, in the research on Hallyu, and more generally, in research at universities. My own approach to this is to continue the dialogue between humanities and social sciences and the arts, and also in dialogue with all other disciplines, including the STEM disciplines. And in this particular case, looking at Hallyu from many productive perspectives, and by considering Korean popular culture as having an intrinsic anchorage in South Korean, Korean, and global history, and therefore also having a relationship with Korean arts and humanities and intellectual life, but also beyond. I take a moment also to refer to at least one Singapore University president, or one president from a Singapore university. UAS is Singapore's 7th university. We are all very proud that it's a university that is wholly dedicated to the arts. This quotation comes from Professor Lily Kong, who recently, again, we're talking about just the last couple of weeks, in her lecture about research and about the university going beyond the ivory tower. She said, universities must rethink the evaluation of research. It's not only about publication and metrics and university rankings, but also about the societal benefits of our research. And of course, we know that, and Lily calls this out, career progression is heavily influenced by publishing, and sometimes with very negative consequences like research misconduct and so on. But I think we want to emphasize how research makes an impact on society, positive impact, serving the public good, I quote, and informing and shaping public policy. So these are again thoughts that all of us, especially I turn to university colleagues from all our institutions, both in Singapore and beyond, we have to think about this. Now, I see that my time is up. I just like to come back to a line that comes from Han Kang when I contemplate the stakes of research in universities today. And this last line must go to Han Kang. The last defense by which human beings can remain human is the complete and true perception of another's suffering. And I might add, in a deeply polarized and fractured world and on a very fragile planet. Thank you very much. I'd like to apologize that today, in less than half an hour, I have to attend the annual general meeting of the University of the Arts of Singapore. I'm sorry to miss this, but I hope to come back and join all of you. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Professor Kian. You captured so well the spirit and the most important insights of the symposium and our agenda, because you raised so many questions, so deep questions, so complex questions. I think that will give us a lot of food for thought for the whole day to reflect on all the issues that you raised. Thank you so much. And thank you for welcoming us here at the University of the Arts Singapore and being with us. So we really enjoyed your speech. Okay, thank you. So now let me introduce you, Dr. Venka Purushothaman, who is the Deputy President and Provost at LaSalle College of the Arts. He is an award-winning art writer and academic with a distinguished career in Singapore's arts and creative industries. Venka advances transformative arts education and is the founder of the Asia Pacific Network for Culture Education and Research, known as ANSWER, and I'm sure that some of you already ANSWER members here. Internationally, he chairs the strategy board of Zurich-based Shared Campus, a consortium of arts universities developing new educational paradigms, and the International Advisory Council of the New York-based Living Arts International, among all his other global engagements. So Venka will also give a welcome keynote and will welcome you to LaSalle College of the Arts right now. I hope you all enjoyed the LaSalle tour that my students prepared for you today. So Venka, the floor is yours right now. Thank you so much.
Good morning, everyone. Welcome to LaSalle, and thank you to Professor Kian for that wonderful introduction as the Vice Chancellor of the University. So I already welcome all of you to LaSalle College of the Arts. I hope really enjoyed the campus tours, those of you who went on the campus tour. And if you really want to follow through and really experience the palpable opportunity the arts provide in the ways that we can actually flesh out contemporary concerns, you are at the right place. So really, it's my honor to welcome all of you. I don't have a very long speech, but I have kind of a short speech which kind of touches upon many of the key points that Prof. Kwok raised, and also the forum panelists are primarily going to be speaking about. Clearly, I think, as Natalia said, I'm an art writer, so my socialization towards the Hallyu is very much through an embodied experience of what I see every day. I do not have the kind of research depth that many of you will have in this particular thematic. But I will definitely talk about how it's modeled my way. I've embodied the experience of Hallyu in my everyday life. But before that, I must really, congratulate Dr. Natalia Grinjeva and her team, research team, for this significant work, which is really furthering, important impact of how data can really help map and scrutinize, in multiple modalities, the kind of cultural practices we can consider and how we can expand the field of cultural practices that is rising out of, interestingly, from East Asian communities and having an impact in the rest of the world. I think one of the significant things about this particular conference is, it is bringing together different disciplinary points of inquiries to coalesce. And I think that's a very important part of it. So be it digital modes of inquiries, the social practice of arts management, the soft power of cultural diplomacy, or the articulation of lived experience through cultural studies, this forum or symposium really enables an interdisciplinary way of understanding and foregrounding complex methodologies to appreciate a highly agitated and mediatized world around us. So we very much are in a very agitated space right now. And of course, the uprising itself, in many ways, is a manifestation of that. And secondly, I think the University of the Arts itself was founded around this moment of agitation of how the arts can actually prefer and move forth the conversation about not only just the economy, but how do we as society and as communities come together to frame our conversations about what culture means to us as we move forward in the 21st century. So in many ways, I think, when in global schematics where you are seeing a lot of art schools and art colleges being merged and shut down and restructured, here Singapore literally birthed a new university building on the capacity of the two institutions to say, let's further creativity and multiple points of interdisciplinary learning in significant ways, which is really very bold in terms of not only as an academic enterprise, but also has a political strategy for the economy. So this is very, very important in this regard. So in many ways, I think this conference, being launched out of this kind of a transformative way of thinking about what a university matters, really is about foregrounding new methodologies and new interdisciplinary ways of learning and how we see the present world. But you're also in an art school environment. And in an art school environment, we go back to the art practice. And in many ways, my own understanding of the Hallyu has always been through the lens of artist. Last year I was invited to write about an artist's work who was an India-based artist, but who was doing an exhibition in Antwerp. And he was actually doing a series of bodies of work around the tensions between India and China around the Siachen Glacier. Right, and he was very much working in Baptiste Coelho's work was very much based around war studies and tensions, right? And it was very interesting that throughout his work, one of the moments of history that inspired many of his works, and one of the key works was really the Guangzhou Uprising, or 18 May 1980. And the demonstration of piecing together the moments of history was very illuminating for me, as of how an artist was foregrounding the way the society, the communities restructured and recontextualized their particular experience. So in many ways, that kind of interactivity and the integration of people, systems, places, and histories became a very thoughtful way art can foster a new way of envisioning the challenges that we have ahead. So in that sense, the metaphors matter. And this is very significant from an artist's perspective. And in the arts, metaphors really are significant. They give concrete manifestations, both physical and experiential, depth and meaning. And we need to embrace all things Hallyu have been extensively studied. We know that. And in many ways, they also have become metaphors in many ways for many societies. And what these metaphors mean will, of course, definitely be unpacked and unlocked. Perhaps I'm also very much a Foucauldian in many ways, where I think about the fact that my own archaeology of knowledge is based on my embodied experience. So I'll share with you my own embodied experience of what I understand of the Korean Hallyu. So as a young student in the 1990s, I was brought up on a diet of American sitcoms called MASH, if you remember that. Many of you are not born before that time, but I was born on the diet of that show. And I traversed through the world with that imagining of what that meant. All right, I traversed through the world on the cheapest and the longest flights, and it brought me to destinations like Seoul. A day's stay was insignificant but culturally deep for me. The sheer volume of Hyundai cars on the streets were overwhelming. And the lack of translation for a solo 21-year-old traveler was punishing, but the food was simply great and the people were really wonderful and compelling. As I traversed through North America, there was a visible Korean presence as a post-war community was rebuilding its sense of being in the US. The famed laundromats and the convenience stores became my social ritual on an everyday life. 20 years later, I returned to Seoul in 2012 to represent LASALLE as a founding member of the Asian League of Institute of Arts led by K-Arts, Korean National University of the Arts. Building on regional partnerships around exchange and peace was the moment I cherished as I was there to learn different ideas around what was happening in East Asia. I had a very early morning flight once the conference was, and after signing off the agreement, and I was planning to fly out of Seoul very early, around I think 5 in the morning or so. I was in a hotel in the city, and the Korean Arts Festival was happening, so it was very noisy and very loud, so I couldn't sleep. So I unable to sleep, I decided to take a stroll and see what of, if anything, of interest caught my eye. So I walked into a thick forest of people, gathering, partying, and being extremely friendly. This is 2012. The forest got thicker, and as the public freely reigned, there was a a concert that was actually hitting its prime hour at 11 p.m. in the evening. And the ringing sounds of Open Gangnam Style by Psy, blazed through my body, and I was amid Park Jae-sung's or Psy's homecoming concert, thanking the Korean people for his global success. I was in the K-wave. I was in the midst of the wave. The energy and the ability for the music and personality to transcend cultures and people was palpable. It was a memorable moment in my life. I lived a Stuart Hall moment, in cultural studies, right? Really embodying that moment. I have yet to return to Seoul, but it has come to me. I enjoy the music of boy band 2PM, if you all are familiar with 2PM, and the umpteen movies long before Parasite and Squid Game. Be it mukbang videos or Indians comparing commonly shared Tamil words and Korean words, the deep penetration of K-wave remains palpable everywhere. And I use K-wave in the broadest sense of how Hallyu is notionally understood much more in this part of the world. K-wave or J-pop, or K-pop are understood in different parts of the world. So in 2021, I visited a small university town in Hudson, Ohio, in the US. I visited a small family-run, newly established Korean restaurant. The food was excellent. Really, grubby old restaurant. They took over some beer bar or something, some really rundown bar. But the food was really good. The experience was wonderful in many ways. It took me back to the 1990s. The waiters of the restaurant were very interesting. They were two Gen Z white kids with green hair, still in high school, all right? So as I ate, I observed them. They were practicing the Korean language with each other and had a K-drama softly running behind the counter. They did not speak to the customers, just to themselves. I felt a deep trust between them and the culture that they had embraced. And that moment of how you see that embodiment of that culture in a very visceral form in everyday life was very, very powerful for me. This setting that I've just presented through my own personal journey is really from the personal, the embodied personal of the lived experience. Over the years, cultural policy experts have unpacked the Korean government's policy approach to promoting cultural capital of South Korea. As Hong Ki-won has outlined, post-colonial and post-war interests have directly shaped cultural policy, and the ongoing investment in arts and culture, including popular culture, can be traced back to 1972. However, operationalizing the arts was folded into the ambits of many different ministries, and many of you might know, in different government departments, education ministries and whatnot. But it was only in 1990, where the Ministry of Culture was established, that there was a kind of formalized structure of the Korean enterprise started to emerge. Interestingly, this also parallels Singapore's development of the establishment of the National Arts Council in 1990. All right, so this is where the Asian tiger systems were emerging. And they were really clearly Singapore, Korea, Taiwan, the same time period within this was operationalizing, where Singapore consolidated and formed the Ministry of Ministry of Information and the Arts, MITA. Subsequently became MICA and subsequently name changed, and today it's called MCCY. All right, so it started with MITA. So all of this was around the same time. But the paralyzing financial crisis of 1998-1999 was a turning point for all the Asian tigers. And this is where the flip took place in how you started to look at what might and explain why the Korean wave started to emerge. And within the Korean dimension, research has definitely shown, and policy experts have definitely shown, that the paralyzing financial crisis of late 1990s saw cultural policy pivot towards market-driven art forms, leading to broader investment activities founded within the K-wave. So the marketization and the capital building of what the market could potentially do drove that. Today, cultural products and services are not limited to K-films, drama, and music, but encapsulates lifestyle experiences ranging from Samsung products, Korean cosmetics, plastic surgery, and food. This symposium, I hope, will illuminate that. All right? In conclusion, I really want to conclude here. We live in strange times. This symposium occurs against the backdrop, like Prof. Kwok said, against a failed martial law. Well, failed according to the media at this point in time. We haven't yet seen the manifestations of that, right? In South Korea, though lasting 6 hours, this discord seared through the cultural consciousness of a society that has rebuilt itself post-war. The reactions from within speak for themselves, but it will last for some time. It is critical to contextualize this within the changing dynamics of geopolitics, and we cannot look at this in isolation of geopolitics. I draw from Paul Tucker's recent book, Global Discord, that foreign and domestic policies commingle, demonstrating that core systems are less resilient than envisaged. Perhaps we do take our established systems for granted. Unforced errors have become the order of the day in domestic politics across the globe. It reinforces the view that the arts and culture remain at the core of keeping people connected, valued, and nurtured. While this may sound trivial, as Tucker alludes to global politics, we are in a moment that we cannot take the idea of a nation or citizenry at face value. Hallyu in South Korea and Hallyu elsewhere manifest and respond and shape different layers of cultural realities. Hallyu in Korea and Hallyu in Malaysia are two different experiences. It sounds obvious, but it's clearly not. This symposium and its findings will become the first global collective effort to immediately address this momentous time in South Korea's cultural history, hot off the pan. But at the same time, I hope this research will also illuminate the very rich, diverse enterprises that are emerging from multiple societies and multiple communities that we experience, in not only in the first-tier cities, but also in the third tier and the small towns and small wishing villages where Hallyu manifests itself in. So I wish you all the very best in this significant endeavor. Thank you and welcome and have a great day.
Thank you so much, Venka, for this wonderful speech and again raising a lot of interesting questions. I really loved how you explained how Hallyu is integrated in your daily life and your global traveling. And I resonated so strongly when you said in 2012, right? You were inside the Hallyu wave. I think at the same exact moment, I was inside the Hallyu wave in Canada because when Gangnam Style was a global phenomenon. And I remember I was in Vancouver for a conference organized by UNESCO, and there were a lot of international people, and everyone on their phone was listening Gangnam Style, and there was so much hype around that. So another experience of how to be inside the Korean wave from another part of the world. Thank you for sharing all your stories. So now let me introduce you to Kwan Min Lee. He's the inaugural Career Foundation Professor in New Media at the Wee Kim Wee School of Communication and Information at Nanyang Technological University. So previously Lee was the world-class university professor and founding director of the International Science Research Center at Sangkyung Kwan University in South Korea. Lee also directed Samsung Electronics User Experience Group and the Creative Lab as one of the youngest vice president in Samsung corporate history. And prior to his university career in Samsung, Lee was tenured associate professor at the Annenberg School of Communication and Journalism at the University of Southern California. So, Professor, please, the floor is yours.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you very much for the profound understanding of Korean way and Korean history and Korean democracy by previous speakers, the Deputy President and the Vice Chancellor of the LASALLE University. So before I read this prepared script, I think I feel obliged to talk about this recent incident in South Korea. So as you can see from my very fatigued eyes and this very poor skin conditions, I was not able to sleep for the last 2 days, observing the happenings in South Korea, in Seoul, constantly contacting my family members. As someone who observed this kind of martial law declaration when I was in middle school, and then after observing the death of more than 3,000 people during Gwangju uprising, this is a very, very significant event, and I think I need to say something about that. So let me tell you that the citizens of South Korea, the Republic of Korea, are brave and strong. So we have experienced so many difficulties in our recent history, but we are strong enough to defend our democracy against tyranny. So let me assure that the political instability in South Korea will be okay by the end of, maybe by the end of this year. And everything will get back to normal. With that said, I think we can focus on our job, doing research, studying about the impact of Hallyu today. So yeah, that's it. So it is my great honor to welcome you to the conference, Mapping the Global Impact of Hallyu, the Korean Wave. Together, today, we gather to celebrate and explore the phenomena that has touched the lives of millions around the world. Hallyu, or the Korean Wave, has become more than entertainment. It is a powerful cultural force that unites people across borders. Its music, dramas, and creative expressions resonate deeply with the global audience. So one of the reasons why Korean drama, Korean movies are so touching is maybe because Koreans, like directors, the movie directors, TV producers, they experience this kind of drama in their daily lives. So many difficulties in their lives, like for example, the director Bong Joon-ho or the writer Han Gang. They were the same generation with me, so they spent the college days together with me. And then as a student journalist, I was, during my college days, I was outside filming all these student demonstration activities. And Bong Joon-ho and then Han Gang, I think they also have the same experience as college students. All this kind of experience made them strong. And then all this kind of tragic incident give them inspirations for their creative works. So I think that's one of the reasons why Koreans can come up with stories that can touch the heart of so many people. So here, your presence in this conference highlights the importance of understanding this unique phenomena, Hallyu. Together, we aim to uncover its deeper impacts on culture, society, and economies worldwide. So let me introduce myself again. I'm Kwan Lee. I'm an inaugural Korea Foundation professor in Singapore, and Natalia wants me to explain briefly about Korea Foundation. So Korea Foundation is a part of this government organization under the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. And this foundation, the mission of this foundation is to foster mutual understanding between South Korea and the world. So Korea Foundation, they create professorships like a Korea Foundation professor that I'm holding now. There are more, I believe there are more than 100 Korea Foundation professors around the world. So this Korea Foundation, by collaborating together with this local government and local universities, they establish these positions. And also, they provide scholarships to students who want to study about Korea-related topics. And the Korea Foundation, if we go to Korea Foundation, there are many opportunities for this travel abroad to South Korea. And then also these postdoc opportunities in Korea Research Center in the middle of Seoul. Korea Foundation, and actually 2 months ago, the president of Korea Foundation visited NTU. So I had a great discussion with the president of Korea Foundation. And then we discussed about establishing new scholarships for students, not only for Singaporean students, but also for Southeast Asian students, so that Korea Foundation can sponsor the development of these future leaders of Southeast Asia. And also the Korea Foundation, they want to create more Korea-related activities and research in Southeast Asia. So if you are interested in working together, then you can go to this Korea Foundation website, or you can contact me. Then I think we can come up with some collaborative project together. So that's Korea Foundation. In my role as a Korea Foundation professor, I'm committed to promoting Korea-related studies and building bridges for collaborations. And I think this kind of conference is an excellent example of how we can come together to explore and expand our shared understanding of Korean culture. This conference provides a platform to examine Hallyu's evolution, its global reach, and its far-reaching impacts. Our discussion today will deepen our understanding of how Hallyu influences the world, and then they will also address its opportunities and challenges in a rapidly changing global landscape. So by working together, we can contribute to sustaining Hallyu's growth, and we can also ensure Hallyu remains an authentic cultural bridge between Korea and the rest of the world. With that said, I think one way of enjoying Hallyu, so all of you are esteemed scholars, and then I believe you approach Hallyu from research perspective, but at the same time, I encourage you to enjoy Hallyu products, like of course, the dramas, the movies from Netflix, or maybe like the case of this, our deputy president, go to this K-pop concert, go to this Psy's year-end concert, and then you will really feel the energy of Korean pop culture. By the way, I personally know this president of YG company, and then 5 years ago, this YG company president invited me to this private deck for this Psy year-end show. So I spent like 6 hours in the show because Psy, at the end of the year, his show is like never ends. So starting from like 11:55 p.m. and it just never ends. And then one of the side effects of participating in this kind of event is that as you get older and older, you will develop tinnitus. So I got my tinnitus after joining this Psy conference. So when you join K-pop concert, please, if you are a little bit older, then hopefully you get this eardrum so that you can protect your ears from this concert music speakers. Finally, I want to express my heartfelt gratitude to the organizers, speakers, and participants. Thank you very much for making this conference possible. And I hope today's discussion spark fresh insight, and I hope today's discussions foster valuable connections among all of you. So once again, welcome to Mapping the Global Impacts of Hallyu, the Korean Wave. Let us make this a memorable and enriching experience together. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Professor Kwan Ming. And thank you for ensuring us that the power of democracy in South Korea will continue, and everything will be good by the end of the year, you promised. So
I think maybe by the end of this weekend.
by the end of this weekend. Thank you so much for that. So right now we have an online speaker joining us from Vancouver. So Professor Dao Jing. Professor Dao Jing is our member of the research team and he is a distinguished Simon Fraser University professor. Jin has published numerous books, including Careers Online, Gaming Empire, Digital Platforms, Imperialism and Political Culture, New Korean Wave, Transnational Cultural Power in the Age of Social Media, and the list goes on. Indeed, he is really the most important professor of Hallyu studies on the international level. So in May 2022, Jin was inducted as an International Communication Association Fellow, which is the highest recognition of distinguished scholarly contributions to the field of communication. He is the founding book series editor of Routledge Research in Digital Media and Culture in Asia, and he has been directing the Transnational Cultural and Digital Technology Lab since the summer of 2021. We are very happy to have Professor Jin with us today in the morning, joining us from Canada. Professor Jin, can you hear us?
Yes, thanks so much. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, great. Okay.
Okay, welcome.
Okay, thanks so much, Professor Natalia. So thanks so much for organizing this wonderful event, and thanks for the kind introduction. Due to my the semester just ended this week, I cannot make the trip to Singapore this time. So thanks for your flexibility to allow me to have their Zoom lecture rather than in-person lecture. I think that I have only 20 minutes, so today I mainly talk about the current status of AI, artificial intelligence in Korean cultural production, rather than deeply engaging with the theoretical and methodological approaches, because there are so many things to talk about, but I think that within this time limit, I may need to give some glimpse of the AI in cultural production in the case of Korean Wave. As several presenters already talk about, everybody these days talking about artificial intelligence. But as you may understand, the major recognition and the necessity of AI came after Korea hosted the GOMET, known as Baduk, between AlphaGo and Isedo, one of the most significant players in the field in 2016. If you like the GOMET, even not the fan of the game, you might remember this historical event. While watching AlphaGo's victory over Isedo Human, the player, we all were shocked. And we immediately started to talk about AI and its potential influence. So which means that since the mid-2010s, cultural production has shifted with the advent and the emergence of the AI technology. AI has played a pivotal role in the several cultural production, including film, drama, music, and webtoon in South Korea. With the emergence of AI technology, many cultural creators, including film directors, music composers, drama PDs, have developed new business strategies. And AI has become part of the production and the consumption in the cultural industries. Most of all, generative AI, including ChatGPT, changes creative work. Generative AI models, as you might understand, learn from their huge data sets and produce new cultural content in the form of text, images, and audio. So generative AI proves to be instrumental in writing screenplays, casting actors, and shooting scenes in the cultural sectors. Many people are interested in seeing whether cultural creators in South Korea partnered with AI to create authentic AI-engendered cultural content. They also want to know about the influence of AI on the Korean Wave, because the Korean Wave has been in the front line in working with several digital technologies, such as digital platforms and AI technologies. In cultural production, there are four different stages from script writing to post-production. And previously, cultural creators used AI mostly in post-production, which means that as a part of CG, computer graphic, and VFX visual effect. However, with the growth of generative AI, including ChatGPT, cultural creators now use AI in script writing and the production stages as well. Briefly, the origin of AI goes back to 100 years ago when AI, in the name of robot, went from fiction to plausible reality. Robot, another term related to AI, appeared much earlier than the term AI actually made in 1956. In the field of popular culture, the term robot, in the sense of a humanoid device, appeared in the stage play You Are in Check in 1921. In the movie, AI, still a robot-like machine, first appeared in Metropolis in 1927, which is in the above a dystopian near-future society. Metropolis is one of the earliest representations of robot and AI. More importantly, the robot in Metropolis on the left side of the slide became a prototype of C-34 in the Star Wars movies. As you might see on the slide, the prototype of AI robot machine in 1927 is very similar to C-34 in Star Wars movies. As these early movies, including iRobot, Star Wars, and WALL-E in the 20th and early 21st century, portrayed AI in most in the movies like these, including Terminator 6, Her and Morgan, AI images are near representation of AI, not a real use of AI. AI has portrayed its potential impact on humanity as a threat or an opportunity in several different ways, which is related to the theme of thinking about the differences between AI robots and humans. Starting in the mid-2010s, again, after the combat between AlphaGo and Isedo, Korea's cultural industries have advanced AI-supported cultural production, and they have planned to use AI as a part of the Korean cultural production. Korea has advanced this new trend as the Korean wave increases its global popularity. Cultural creators, again, movie directors, the television PDs, and music the composers focus on AI-embedded cultural production to appeal to global audiences, as well as national audiences. From their films to dramas to K-pop, cultural creators have produced AI-engendered cultural programs. The program the broadcasting industry has developed several AI-embedded programs first, including You Human to 너도 인간이니 and startup made in the 2010s. You Human 2, for example, made in 2018, is a story of the interactions between AI and humans. The drama shows the representation of AI, not the use of the AI, but a still representation of AI in narratives and scenes. The drama utilized AI technology, meaning it used CGs to express the highly advanced AI technology. Another exemplary case in the broadcasting is the Queen of Tears, which was very popular early this year. I think that many of you in this classroom and the people who are watching this in the conference enjoyed this particular the drama. when they needed a snowy scene in the forest, as you can see on the slide, they could not find it, and they used AI to create this particular scene at the ice link in Gangnam, the eastern part of the country. Korea also developed the first reality show in our planet. MBC, one of the major networks in South Korea, showcased a variety show created by the AI known that PD disappeared in 2024. After selecting participants, the AI producer Empago, named after AlphaGo, hosted the show and edited videos. The project has been done by several human producers, but in the actual competition process, Empago, the producer, AI producer, guided participants to the games. AI PD Empago interviewed the applicant, and in the recruitment in the event, Empago said, "Hi, I'm an AI producer. I'll be working on a variety show that will be directed or hosted and edited by AI, me, for the first time in Korea." Empago conducted casting, directing, real-time editing, and calculation of appearance fees of cast. Empago said, "Directing and editing are my authority, and please respect me." Although it had only 3 episodes, it is meaningful because it is the first starting point of the AI use in reality shows in the broadcasting sector. The Korean movie industry has also developed several AI-embedded movies. In Hills, for example, a Korean AI startup created a film using generative AI. Artificial intelligence new cinema movie made in 2023 is the first Korean movie using AI. It consists of 3 episodes of 10 minutes each, and therefore this is a drama-type omnibus film containing several stories on sci-fi topics. From screenwriting to subtitle production, all processes are automated with AI in this particular movie. Korean cinema also created Yong in 2023. Yong, funded by Netflix, became the most watched content on Netflix's non-English chart in early 2023. As we might understand, the film industry in the age of AI has advanced several areas, including advancement in visual effect, high-resolution cameras, the virtual reality, and immersive experiences, as well as their powerful editing software power. In the case of Korean cinema, the number of the employees at the CG and the VFX in the cultural industry has increased. As this slide shows, in terms of the number of firms actually decreased from the 132 in 2010 to 106 in 2021. However, the number of the employees increased from the only 1,100 to the 2,200 during the same period, which means that several Korean corporations, cultural corporations, are emphasizing this particular area, AI embedded area. For example, some companies, including Dexter Studio, Parunson Digital, the idea developed the cutting-edge AI technology in developing the CG and the VFX, and created, meaning they helped the creation of the films in China, which is the new form of the Korean wave. Instead of selling finished cultural product, they are now participating in the cultural production as they are one of the most advanced sectors in the cultural industry in many different countries. Music is another area that cultural creators use AI for their production. the Korean music industry has developed in the AI to expand music production. The Korean in the pop world, known as the K-pop world, has positioned itself at the front, in the forefront of the AI revolution, because the AI has played a pivotal role in K-pop's songwriting process. This slide shows there are several AI-made idol groups, including aespa, Eternity, and May. They are not the real, but they are virtual idols in most cases, and they are kind of the new trend in the Korean the music industry. As you might understand, there are two songs that made the global hit in 2024. Black the Pink's Roses Apart and the 70s the Maestro. Unlike the other in the Roses Apart, 70s Maestro used AI in the production, which is very controversial. So 70s Maestro features an AI-generated element. One member of the 17 Uji said, we practiced making songs with AI as we want to develop along with their technology. They are implementing AI in lyric writing. However, fans are divided. Some support this kind of production supported by AI. Others opposed this kind of the cultural production. Overall, the Korean entertainment world attempt to cultivate the next generation content market based on AI technology. Cultural industry firms and creators have developed cultural products through the utilization of AI technology. While it is still in its infancy, AI in cultural production is already in full swing in a few cultural industries. Again, broadcasting industry, film industry, and music industry. What you have to keep in mind is that the use of AI in cultural production does not imply that AI changes the entire production process. Small companies cannot secure funds, skilled workers, AI technology, and distribution channels. And therefore, the concentration of cultural power in the hand of a few mega giants that possesses AI technology makes the lack of diversity of voice in the cultural sector, and this kind of new trend also creates job losses, the lack of creative control, and artistic expression. Therefore, cultural creators think about how to sustain creativity, control, and credentials supported by the intellectual property right. We cannot avoid the invasion of AI in their cultural production, and the Korean wave cannot resist the involvement of AI. So instead, cultural creators have to develop the new kind of their strategies to work with AI in cultural production. Thanks so much.
Hello. Thank you. Thank you so much, Professor. So we have not too much time, but I think we have a few minutes for a couple of questions. So anyone here would like to ask Professor Dao Yojing while he's with us right now to follow up on this topic? I think this is a really fascinating topic on the AI introduction of Hallyu. So Queen Min, for example, mentioned why everybody loves Hallyu, because drama, right? And drama is in our blood, right? So does artificial intelligence or would artificial intelligence be able to produce the same level, quality of drama? So this is a question. However, you mentioned many music groups, right? And who already have all the members of the group are produced by artificial intelligence. And there are millions of fans already. But how would fandom of AI groups would look like, So these are all interesting questions. So anyone would like, yeah.
Thank you, Professor, for your presentation. as you were talking, I kept thinking about what AI is, and that it really is very dependent on algorithms and patterns. And so, as long as the topics that you're talking about, such as whether it's film or production or performance, I guess it depends on whether or not something is very formulaic. That means that it just keeps repeating itself. So if you look at all the K-pop groups and the K-dramas, you could almost argue that there is a storyline or a look or a practice, a protocol that is very formulaic. So would you agree that if it's all very formulaic, then AI works, but if it is not, and it requires human judgment, then AI would not be such a big participant?
Yeah, I think this is a very interesting question. So you are talking about whether AI may replace the human works as the major player eventually. As we understand that AI that depends on big data and the patterns to predict the future directions. In that way, the algorithms are working as one of the most significant component in the AI production. So AI continuously evolve, and therefore AI relies on the previous existing data product and the storylines. However, AI lacks the emotion, feeling, and the human kind of the agonies and the sorrows and the happiness. Therefore, there are some goods and bads. There are some kinds of the supportive and the negative aspects. But in cultural industries, AI is continuously increasing to replace human workers. Secondly, I don't think they replace their human workers entirely, but they are supporting or assisting human workers. Therefore, human workers and the AI work together to make the cultural production. In that way, I don't think that human is a priority or the AI is a prior player. So instead, they have to work together in building new kinds of the production culture, and therefore they have to develop new kinds of the cultural creativity.
Thank you so much. Yeah. Oh, we have another question. Yeah. Yong.
Thanks, Natalia. And thanks, Professor, for your talk. I have a question about what counts as AI in Korean production, because you mentioned groups like aespa, and aespa, for instance, like it's not from my knowledge of it, it's not really an AI group, and even the AI avatar like Navis, who recently debuted under SM Entertainment, the Korean name is Nabi. Like the representation of AI, there was a huge debate on in SM fandom whether Navis is an actual AI or it's a motion picture, like motion capture technology. So I'm thinking along in this case, right? Like, for instance, if I use ChatGPT to correct the grammar of my lecture, am I using AI or am I generating my entire lecture using ChatGPT? Is it AI generated? So in that sense, I kind of want to look and see in terms of like in cultural production, especially when your representation of cultural production now today, how much of production is how AI is used in the actual production. I'm actually curious to ask. Yeah, thank you so much.
Right. So I think that you're right. The ESPA was VR the component, not the actual AI, but now the several AI made groups or the virtual idols in terms of the production related to video production are supported by AI. In that way, we broadly include the ESPA as a part of the AI production. So technically speaking, so in terms of the representation of the AI versus the real use of the AI in cultural production is controversial because at the end, as I explained, the majority of the cultural creators and the cultural industry firms use the AI in the post-production, meaning the editing and then the special effect process. Therefore, previously they used AI only in the final stage of the production. But ChatGPT had changed everything because previously there was some generative AI in their creating their screen in the place, but they were very primitive and the rudimentary. But ChatGPT continuously evolve, and the general AIs now they are create good the materials, good the screenplays. Therefore, the AI in the end overall cultural production is everywhere from the pre-production, actual production, and the post-production. Not the entirely again. They are evolving, which means that the proportion of the use of the AI, real use of the AI is increasing, but not the 100%, not the 90% at this moment. But certainly, we expect that the proportion of the AI use in cultural production is the soaring. So that's the sure thing. Lastly, you are talking about at the end, everybody is concerned whether we are relying on AI, generative AI, ChatGPT in writing, in their making papers, so on and so forth. So I think that the professors, the researchers in the many universities are now taking care of that particular discussion, how to deal with. For example, several days ago, I got the email from the one university press saying that we want to include the UOB in the AI program for the education, for the training AI program. So I said no. So don't do that. I don't want to be part of the program. So so now companies, production companies, or the cultural the companies, or the newspaper companies are all considering how to deal with this moment. Some support the kind of the training process. Others the refuse, like the New York Times, refuse to be part of. So certainly it's debatable and it's controversial, but personally, I believe that we have to rely on AI partially and as their assistant and their supporter, not the replacer.
Thank you so much. I totally agree. And Professor Kian Woon raised this topic about that the AI can produce the final answers. So my observation with the current state of AI, no final answers with AI. It's just start a conversation. It's just the very beginning of the conversation, and yeah. So thank you so much for that wonderful talk today, in the morning for us, in the evening for you, and in the other part of the world. So with that note, we close the first session, the introductory session, and we right away start the second session, where we will launch the Hallyu tracker. So this session will be facilitated by Hwa Jung Kim, Professor Hwa Jung Kim. She's coming to the stage right now. Yes, she's a research member on our team